The mouse of the day is Floral Fiona, and she's chill as fluff, guys. One day, Floral Fiona had her claws deep in the soil, her favorite place to be. The morning sun bathed down on her and her flower garden. It was a warm, golden light, and the air was thick with the sweet fragrance of blossoms. Rows and rows of vibrant petals spread out before her like a sea of color, swaying gently in the breeze. This garden wasn't just a hobby or a pretty sight, it was her pride, her life's work. And today, Fiona was preparing for a very special tour. Fiona stood up, dusting off her apron and adjusting her straw hat. A group of mice from the village would be arriving soon to visit her garden, and she was excited to share the stories behind each flower with them. It wasn't just about the beauty, each flower had a history, meaning, something that connected to her heart. She loved nothing more than seeing the awe on the faces of the visitors as they learned that the flowers could speak a language of their own. The garden, tucked away at the edge of the village, was a sanctuary of sorts. A winding path led through rows and rows of flowers. There were lilies, orchids, carnations, lavender. The other mice in the village didn't know nearly as much about these flowers, but Fiona was determined to change that. With her tours, she'd guide them through the colors of the flowers, the fragrances, and the stories. As she finished her preparations, the soft sound of scampering paws reached her ears. The group of mice, led by a young mouse named Jasper, entered the garden. Their eyes were wide with excitement. Fiona greeted them with a warm smile. "Welcome to my garden," she said, her voice carrying the same warmth as the sunshine. "I hope you're ready for a little adventure among the flowers." Fiona led them down a narrow path lined with colorful blooms, stopping by every now and then to point out something special. Their first stop was a patch of lilies, their tall, elegant stems swaying in the gentle breeze. The petals were a soft, creamy white with hints of pink in the center. Fiona knelt beside the flowers, her paws brushing slightly against the delicate petals. "Lilies are one of the most graceful flowers in the garden," she explained, her eyes sparkling as she spoke. "They symbolize purity and renewal. I always plant them near the front of the garden so they're the first flowers to greet me every morning when I come in." The young mice crowded around, staring up at the tall flowers in awe. One of them, a small mouse named Leela, reached out gently to touch a petal. "They're so soft," Leela whispered, her eyes wide. Fiona smiled and nodded. "They are, but they're also very strong. Lilies can survive harsh weather and still bloom beautifully. They remind us that even in tough times we can grow and thrive." From the lilies, Fiona led the group to a section of the garden where orchids grew in clusters of vibrant purple and white. These flowers were rarer than the others, delicate and exotic, with intricate petals that almost seemed otherworldly. "These," Fiona said, pointing to the orchids, "are symbols of beauty and strength. They're a little more difficult to grow, but they're worth the effort. Orchids need a lot of care, but once they bloom, they remind us that sometimes the most beautiful things in life take time and patience." Jasper, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Do they only grow here?" Fiona shook her head. "Nope. Orchids grow in many places, but they thrive best in warm tropical climates. I had to work very hard to create the right conditions for them here in the village, actually, but once I did, they flourished. That's one of the reasons I love orchids, actually. They're a reminder that with the right care and dedication, anything can bloom." The young mice marveled at the orchids, their tiny paws reaching out to touch the smooth petals. Fiona watched them with a soft smile. She loved seeing their curiosity, their appreciation for the flowers that meant so much to her. As the tour continued, Fiona led the group to a patch of carnations. These flowers, with their ruffled petals in the shades of pink, red, and white, stood in neat rows, their fragrance sweet and subtle. "Carnations are special," Fiona said, her voice very soft. "They represent love and admiration. Each color has its own meaning. Pink carnations symbolize a mother's love, red is for deep admiration, and white represents pure love and good luck. That's why you'll often see carnations at celebrations or as gifts for loved ones." Leela, who had been fascinated by the carnations, looked up at Fiona with wide eyes. "Can I plant some of these in my own garden at home?" Fiona's heart warmed at the question. "Of course you can, Leela. Carnations are easy to grow and they'll brighten up any garden. Just make sure to give them plenty of sunshine and water and they'll reward you with beautiful blooms." The tour wound through the garden, the young mice chattering about everything so far, but now she led the group to a small, quiet corner of the garden where rows of lavender grew, their soft blooms swaying gently in the breeze. The air here was thick with the soothing, calming scent of lavender flowers, and Fiona breathed it in deeply before speaking. "Lavender," she said, her voice almost a whisper, "is the flower that's a symbol of peace and calm. Its fragrance can help you relax, ease your worries, and even help you sleep. I planted this lavender patch here as a place of rest, a little corner of the garden where I can come to unwind, breathe in the peace of the flowers after a long day." The young mice gathered around, their noses twitched as they took in the sweet scent of the flowers. Fiona smiled as she watched them. There was something magical about the lavender, something that seemed to quiet even the most excitable of mice. "Can I take some home with me?" Jasper asked, his voice soft and hopeful. Fiona knelt down beside him, carefully plucking a small bundle of lavender from the patch. She handed it to Jasper with a gentle smile. "Here you go, Jasper. Keep it near your bed and it'll help you sleep at night." Jasper clutched the lavender in his chest, his eyes filled with gratitude. The other young mice soon followed suit, each of them asking for a small bundle to take home. They were all excited to lay it next to their bed so that they could sleep well at night. As the sun set, Fiona led the group back to the entrance. The young mice were still buzzing with excitement, their paws full of flowers and their hearts full of knowledge. Fiona's own heart swelled with pride and joy. Before they left, Fiona gathered the group one last time, her voice filled with warmth. Thank you for visiting my garden today, guys. Remember, flowers are more than just beautiful. They each have a story to tell, and they can bring so much joy and peace to our lives. I hope you'll take what you learned today and share it with others. The young mice nodded eagerly, their tails twitching with excitement. As they scampered off, they were chattering about the lilies, orchids, carnations, and lavender that they had seen today. Fiona stood at the entrance of her garden, watching them go with a smile. The garden was quiet now, the sun casting long shadows over the rows of flowers. Fiona turned and walked back through her path, her paws brushing against the petals of the flowers she loved so dearly. She paused for a moment by the lavender patch, breathing in the calming scent, and smiled to herself. Her garden wasn't just a place for the flowers, it was a place for stories, for memories, and for sharing the beauty of the world with others. And as long as she had her flowers, Fiona knew that she could always have something to share. Do you guys mess with Floral Fiona?